I never thought I'd end up calling a lawyer because of my own backyard pool. But that's exactly what happened after a woman from the HOA next door tried to kick me out of my own property, claiming the pool belonged to the community. She even called the cops on me. And that was the day I realized how terrifyingly real HOA madness could get. So let me start from the beginning. My name's Mike Reynolds. About a year ago, I bought this house in a quiet neighborhood in Florida. I had one rule when house hunting: absolutely no HOA. I'd heard enough horror stories: people fined for trash cans left out for 5 minutes too long, letters for grass not being the right shade of green, someone getting warned for parking slightly crooked. I wanted peace, freedom, and a place that was mine. This house checked all the boxes. Big backyard privacy fence and my favorite part, a pool. Sure, the pool was a mess when I bought it. Cracked concrete full of leaves, the pump half dead. But I saw potential. Over the next few months, I poured 15 grand into that backyard. New concrete LED lights that glowed blue and purple at night, an outdoor grill and fridge setup. It turned into my little paradise. One day, while the contractor was finishing the lights, he mentioned something weird. Said the previous owner, an older guy, had issues with people trying to use the pool. I laughed it off, figured maybe some kids were sneaking in when the place looked abandoned. I didn't think much of it. I should have. Fast forward to July. It's one of those blazing Florida weekends. I had a few friends over, burgers on the grill, country music playing softly from the speakers. We were floating lazily in the pool, beers in hand, when I noticed her, this woman, standing across the fence, arms folded tight like she was guarding Buckingham Palace. At first I tried to ignore her, but after 15 minutes of her just staring, she shouted, "The community pool isn't supposed to be used until after 4 p.m. on weekends." I blinked, confused. "Sorry, what?" She repeated it slower, like I was 5. "Residents can't use the community pool until 4. HOA rules." I swam over to the edge, dripping wet, trying to make sense of what I'd just heard. "Ma'am, this isn't a community pool. This is my backyard. I own this property." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh no, honey. This pool's always been part of the HOA. The previous owner let us use it. It's for everyone." Now I thought she was joking. "Lady, I just told you I bought this place last year. I've got the deed, the survey, everything. It's private." Her smile hardened. "I'm on the board," she said, like she was flashing a badge. "Our records say this is community property. You can't just change that." That was my first real taste of HOA arrogance. She walked off, and I figured that was the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. 20 minutes later, she came back with backup. A guy in a golf shirt, name tag clipped to his chest. Greg Simmons, HOA president. His voice was that fake customer service tone that makes your blood boil. "Sir, there seems to be a misunderstanding. This pool is part of our shared amenities." I showed him my county property survey, clear lines marking my lot, the pool right there in black and white. Greg looked at it for 2 seconds and said, "This doesn't look official." Then he pulled out his proof, a faded map that looked like it came out of a fax machine from 1992. According to it, my house didn't even exist back then. Meanwhile, a small crowd of neighbors had gathered behind them, whispering and pointing like it was some kind of neighborhood reality show. My chest tightened. It was 2 against 1, and they had the audience. But I held my ground. "Look," I said, "whatever deal the last owner had with you, that's over. This is private property now." Greg started talking about historical use agreements. "Karen," the woman cut him off and snapped, "if you don't comply with HOA rules, I'm calling the police." And she did. Right there. Dialed 911. That's when I realized this was no longer some nosy neighbor situation. This was war. About 30 minutes later, 2 police officers showed up. One of them, Officer Rodriguez, a calm Latina woman, came through my front door. I handed her everything: the deed, the survey, even the zoning documents I'd gotten when I bought the place. She nodded professional and said she'd talk to the others. Out back, Karen was already ranting about trespassing and community property. Greg was trying to look diplomatic, but you could tell he was loving the attention. When Officer Rodriguez tried to show them the documents, Karen snatched at them, yelling, "That can't be right. We've used that pool for years." Rodriguez didn't even flinch. "Ma'am, according to the county, this pool is on private property. It belongs to Mr. Reynolds. Any past use was permitted by the previous owner, it doesn't transfer. Karen's face twisted red and furious. "We have adverse possession rights," she shouted like she'd seen that phrase in a Facebook legal group and thought it made her sound smart. Rodriguez sighed. "That's not how that works." Eventually the cops left. No citations, no arrests, just a lot of angry muttering on the HOA side. Karen glared at me one last time and hissed, "This isn't over." I wanted to laugh it off, but that night I couldn't sleep. Something about the way she said it stuck with me. So I went online, pulled up their HOA website, and there it was. My pool. My damn pool pictures, rules posted, swim hours. It was listed as one of their community amenities. That was when I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a delusion. The next morning I called a real estate attorney, Ms. Porter. She was sharp, calm, the kind of person who didn't flinch at nonsense. She sent them a cease and desist letter, take the pool off their site, stop distributing keys, and acknowledge the property line. In the meantime, I installed cameras all around the backyard. Good thing I did. Within a week, I caught multiple people trying to sneak in. Some even had keys to my gate. That's when it hit me. The HOA had been handing out access to my property for years. Then came the letter from the HOA they were considering legal action. My heart sank. Every day I'd come home half expecting another confrontation. There were nights I sat on the edge of the pool staring at the water, asking myself, is this even worth it? Should I just sell and get out? But then, I watched the footage of a man trying to enter my yard at 11 p.m., fumbling with a key he shouldn't even have. And something inside me snapped. No more being nice. No more explaining. I was done playing defense. Ms. Porter and I filed a counterclaim for trespassing, harassment, and false advertising. We had evidence, photos, video, screenshots, emails. She said, "They're bluffing. Let's end this." Apparently, the HOA held an emergency meeting about me. They called it a crisis of community access, which I guess is HOA speak for, "we messed up." But instead of backing off, they doubled down, announcing they'd sue me for historical easement rights. When my lawyer read that, she laughed out loud. They don't have a case. There's no record, no deed notation, nothing. So we hit back hard, sent them every piece of evidence, including a copy of the police report and the video of residents breaking into my property. And then, silence. For 2 weeks, nothing. Then one morning I got a call. It was Greg, sounding suddenly humble. "We'd like to resolve this amicably," he said. We met in a lawyer's office. Greg was sweating through his shirt. Karen sat there stone-faced, her power finally stripped away. She didn't look like the HOA queen anymore, just a tired woman who'd picked the wrong fight. They agreed to everything. Remove the photos. Pay $7, $500 in damages, $3,200 in legal fees, and send a letter to every resident clarifying that the pool was private property. They even issued a public apology. Karen resigned from the HOA board a week later. Word spread fast. A month after that, I got a letter, this time from the HOA itself. They wanted to buy my property. Said losing access to the community pool had lowered home values in the area. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped the letter in the pool. No thanks. Now I've got a taller fence, stronger locks, and a smaller circle of neighbors, ones who actually respect boundaries. Every now and then, I'll see Karen or Greg walking past, trying not to look, pretending they're not curious. When they do, I raise my glass, smile, and take another sip. I fought back. I didn't let them rewrite my property line or my sanity. Because sometimes, standing your ground isn't about winning a fight. It's about reminding people, this is my home, and I decide who's welcome here.